First off, I'd like to thank Al Bean and the committee for this tremendous honor. This really means a lot to me, so thanks, guys. Second, all my teammates. We had some great times on and off the court, moments that will stay with me for life, but it's because of you guys I'm here tonight. In particular, Mike Francor, my backcourt running mate at USM, and Brian Wall, my high school teammate. Next, there were three coaches that impacted my career: Coach Carter, Coach Costigan, Coach Hendrickson. My high school coach, Coach Carter, taught me a lot about the game of basketball, but I think more importantly, he taught me about discipline, competing, and becoming a better man. When I arrived at USM, I was extremely excited to step on the court with Coach Costigan. I heard a lot of great things about him through the basketball community and growing up in the area, but after getting in the gym with him, it was even more impressive. I don't think there's been a coach that has took my game to a higher level in a short amount of time. I went from a freshman in the Little East to Player of the Year, and I owe a lot of that to you, Coach. Thanks. Finally, Coach Hendrickson. When I sat back and thought about Coach Hendrickson and reflected on Coach Hendrickson, it was just an absolute pleasure playing for him. He was truly a player's coach. From his experiences coaching at all levels and his IQ of the game made my final years playing competitive basketball something I'll never forget. USM is very lucky to have you, Coach. Thanks. My wife, Emily, for all her love and support, even though she still has never seen me play a game of basketball. And finally, my parents. It didn't matter if I was playing in Gore, Maine, California, Arizona. My parents were always in the crowd. And I don't think I realized till I was done playing how much I appreciated it. So thank you guys, and I love you. And thanks for everyone else.
I want to thank everyone and tell you how honored and privileged I am to be inducted in this class. And I was thinking on the way up here what the experience would be like if I were here not as an athlete. And I couldn't imagine being here and not having the support of the entire athletic department and the entire staff. Just walking through the building and having everyone know you by first name and know everything about you just really comforts you and makes you feel at home even as a freshman here. And the experience would not have been even half the same if I were in the athletics. So I want to thank all of the athletic department and staff and athletic trainers, since I was an athletic training major, supporting me. Even when I wasn't hurt, they still supported me. Of course, I want to thank my family that's here tonight, and they're here for everything for me. My dad started coaching me when I was a little kid. I mean, he coached track when I was probably 2 years old at the high school, and I would be at every track practice attempting to pole vault, even though I wasn't tall enough to jump onto the pole vault mat yet. And they have been at almost every single track meet, along with my grandparents. I remember a track meet in Florida my grandparents came to. They had an umbrella, and they're in the stands, and they were the only people at the meet. And we have a picture of them sitting and watching me, and they're the only ones sitting there with their little umbrella. And so I want to thank them for always supporting me. And even today, as we drove into the hotel, my dad brought over some apple crisp, and he's like, "We've never come to Maine and not brought you apple crisp." So that was really meaningful. I don't know if he thought of that beforehand, but it meant a lot to me. I want to thank my roommate who's here with me tonight, Becky, my best friend, and college would not have been nearly the same without you. I met her freshman year. We both worked our work-study job for George, and we're like, we don't like our roommates. You want to be a roommate? and we just hit it off from there. And of course, my husband, who again never saw me compete, but his continued support for me. He is here currently from Afghanistan. He's been here for a couple days, and he gets to go back in a couple more. So I really appreciate the time we have together right now. And I want to thank Carla for making the trip here tonight. She, I'm sure, is the only reason I got into Smith College and got a fellowship to get my master's degree there, and she was just a wonderful mentor and taught me so much about track and coaching, along with, of course, George, where it all started. You know, I was the athlete I was because of you. I feel like I don't think I made team practice probably 50% of the time, and he was here at 9 o'clock at night with me practicing. I think he might have lived here. He had a couch in his office, so it was a little bit of a rumor. I'm not sure if he spends nights there, Kyle, you know, I don't know. But he would practice me. Sometimes I had practice twice a day with him, and it was never at a normal time and never with the rest of my teammates. So I really appreciate all the time and dedication you put into not just me, but all of your athletes.
Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I really appreciate the honor from the committee and from Al for getting me to this point. It was a little hard getting my stuff organized, but I am here now. So it's funny, Coach, you remember that game, because I remember that game, but I remember it for a different reason, because last minute to go, and we were still a little nervous. That team, we had seen that team, they were staying in the same hotel, and we had, you know, been running into them at the mall, and had been jabbering away a little bit. And then, of course, we saw them warm up, and we were going, I'm not sure how this is going to pan out. And then, so we get up on them, and last minute, I take off down the court. It's our ball. We're going the other way. And something had just happened, and I was really excited that we were beating them, and we were in the last minute. And so I started jumping up and down right in front of our bench. And of course, you have all the freshman kids, and they're all like, yes, woo, you know, getting excited about it. The ball comes flying over my right shoulder and out of bounds, hits the wall on the other side. And so, of course, it's their ball going the other way. And not that this was going to change the outcome of the game at all, but I remember because Coach was standing right there, and I look over at him, and there's one thing that you don't really want to see happen, and it's Coach's face turning bright red. And then you kind of go, oh, I know what's going to happen after this. It's not a good thing. And he looked at me, and he had his hands on his hips like he does, and he blinked a couple times, and then he went marching down, going the other way. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know, only this time, only as a senior, only with this team is that ever going to happen, and that'd be the end of it. So that's what I remember from that game. Anyway, I'd like to thank, obviously, Coach Byfield for my 4 years here. I learned a lot, and which is carried over to coaching, which is great. And one thing stands out, too, in my mind. If you don't know the drill, get to the end of the line, because you do not want to be at the front of the line holding up everyone else. So I use that fairly often. And I want to thank Coach Jay Carlson, my high school coach. I was pretty fortunate. I only had, I think, 3 or 4 coaches all the way through, and Jay certainly helped me with my coaching, and he's a great role model for me. And then my family, my husband Mark, who still continues to play basketball like a football player, but that's okay. We've overlooked that over the years. And my parents and my sister, who will probably forever have bleacher butt. Thank you all very much.
Where's Phil? I got to give a shout out to Phil. I guess when we were playing, they didn't have cameras back then. I noticed we were only 2. They didn't have the camera shot, so I had to give a shout out to you. On a serious note, I want to thank a lot of people that are here tonight. My family, my wife Michelle, who did get the opportunity to watch me. She's a fellow USM alum. So thank you, Michelle. My boys who are here, Camden and Brennan, thank you. I'm getting to enjoy coaching them now, so that magic in athletics is back, and I really enjoy it. My mother and father-in-law, Mike and Diana Bell, thank you. My mom and dad, who from early on would push me, coach me. My first 2 coaches, mom and dad. Early on, I can remember at the kitchen table, my mom doing the lineups for the game the next morning on her napkins and asking me, what do you think? You know, how do you think we should play this? And from very early on, that was part of, our discussions and our conversations around soccer. A little tidbit later on, my mother actually started the girls soccer in Marshfield, Massachusetts, which is a pretty cool thing, and I've always looked up to her for that. So Mom, great job, I love you guys. I'd like to thank family here at USM, Al Bean. I've known him back in, it's been a while since I was a student here, so I appreciate it and always having that connection to Al. Coach Fifield, who's here tonight, who was the instrumental in having me come to USM and checking out the campus and getting me to come here. Thank you, Coach. Coach Keller, he lies. I learned so much from him. In all the years playing soccer, he was the best. He got me. He knew what buttons to push to get me to take it up another level. But that was part of who he was and who he still is as a coach. He knows how to push the buttons of each player, treat us all differently to get us all to work together to have the best performance on the field. And I always appreciated that about Coach Keller. Thank you. All my old teammates, especially Kevin McCarthy, who's always been my biggest fan, who's here tonight with his wife Lisa. Thank you, Kevin. Don't think I don't note that. You're the best, bud. All my years at USM were not always the easiest as far as, the turnover in the students, 3 different coaches. The day-to-days weren't always easiest. The wins were a little thin. However, I look back and reflect, it was a great time. The Saturday afternoons in October out on the soccer field, the road trips down to Connecticut, down to Rhode Island with some of the guys on the van, those special moments, the captain's practices, the preseason we had up in Wayne, Maine in a tent. I didn't know Wayne, Maine existed coming from Massachusetts, and I had the best time. Great memories, I'll never forget that. So when I look back, there's nothing I would trade for my experience here at USM in men's soccer. It means the world to me. I really appreciate it. This is a great honor. Thank you, everyone.
I want to thank you again for those wonderful, kind, exaggerated words. And you said everything I wrote perfectly, so thank you. It was a tough decision to fly out here this weekend because I'm missing a softball game for this. And for those of you that don't know me, I skipped graduation for a USM softball game, so it's kind of a big deal. You're welcome. Who am I kidding? It's slow pitch and my body could use the rest. So. I'd like to thank Al Bean and the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for this amazing honor that I was not expecting at all, as well as my many coaches and trainers that I've had for my 4 years as a USM student athlete. And for those of you that are in attendance today, I will say something I very rarely say. I'm sorry. As having been a coach for 6 years, I am sorry. I'd like to thank 2 of my teammates who came here today, Darcy Holland from softball and April Tracy from tennis. And Lenny, thank you for coming also. Thank you for purchasing tickets to come here because I'm sure you still owe USM some money. And your continued friendship means the world to me, so thank you. Half of this award belongs to Katie Bisbo for her 4 years of absolute bravery. She not only had to deal with me on the softball field, but was also my roommate for 2 years. I don't know how you did that. Like, you voluntarily signed up for another year. You realize that, right? So thank you for your continued friendship. Somehow you were the one person, despite my best efforts, who could make me laugh when I wanted nothing more than to stew in my own anger. And that is a gift that has not gone unnoticed or unappreciated, and I truly thank you. The remaining half of this belongs to my parents, so you guys can figure out who gets what half. You have been supportive, 100% supportive of me in everything I've attempted to do or tried to do or wanted to do my entire life, and I thank you.